boxing always comes with controversy. We've seen Paulie Malignaggi and Juan Baby Bull Diaz. That was certainly controversial. We covered Paul Williams fighting Arislandi Lara. That was controversial. This may not have been as blatant, but still, would you agree that the wrong boxer won Saturday night?
I don't know that I would agree with that. I was scoring it round by round as the fight was progressing. And I had Pacquiao squeaking out a draw, having taken two of the last 3 rounds. But the fight was a difficult one to score, extremely difficult to score. I could see how people think Marquez won the fight. He certainly landed the more telling punches, the more solid punches. Pacquiao's speed counterbalanced that to some extent, flashier, but I surely don't think he won the fight.
The 3 judges scored it. Glenn Trowbridge, 116-112, which is ridiculous in my mind. Dave Moretti had it 115-113. Robert Hoyle, the most accurate, had it 114 apiece. It seems like at least the safe play on this one was to give another draw, don't you think?
Well, it certainly appears that way. Boxing is very difficult to score. It's such a subjective sport. Unlike other sports where touchdown's a touchdown, even in boxing, a knockout is a knockout. But if that doesn't happen, it's a very difficult sport to score.
So do you not blame? So do you not blame them per se for scoring it the way they did because the scoring is so hard to do?
Well, there's a lot of blame to go around. If it's not one thing, it's always the other with boxing. That's for sure. And I've heard that, it's another black eye for boxing. So many times that I've just sort of grown tired of it. There's always going to be something with boxing. It's the nature of the beast. It's not corporate. It's boxing. And because of that, anything can happen, and it usually does.
Manny Pacquiao is now 2-0-1 against Juan Manuel Marquez. I just wanted to highlight these statistics very quickly. Total punches landed. Pacquiao was 176 of 578, good for 30%. Marquez, 138 of 436, 32%. Pacquiao out-jabbed Marquez, 59 of 34 to Marquez's 38 of 182. The power punches is where Pacquiao shined, according to CompuBox statistics. Pacquiao, 117 at 274. Hang on one second, Robert. 117 at 274. Marquez, 100 of 254. So could you make an argument that is how the judges scored it through power punching and which shots hurt the most?
No, I could make an argument that CompuBox is not accurate, is not God. There are very few fights where I've agreed with CompuBox, and that continues to be the case. In addition, punch stats, that's ridiculous. We know who landed the most power punches in that fight. It was not Pacquiao. I'm sorry. It was simply not Pacquiao. Marquez landed more of the power punches. Boxing is very subjective. A person can land 13 jabs and his opponent can land one solid left hook that ends the fight. So would the 13 jabs be, in effect, greater than the one punch that ended the fight?
No, because the power shot ended the fight.
Of course. So we're dealing with there are so many permutations in boxing that it's not a numbers game. It doesn't break down easily the way something like baseball does, because there's effective punching, there's arm punching. There are jabs and there are solid right crosses. It just doesn't lend itself to CompuBox and or punch stat numbers. And again, that's assuming that they're accurate in the first place.
Okay, so let's call it as we see it. I was watching the fight, and I thought Juan Manuel Marquez kept a great distance. I thought he outclassed Pacquiao. I thought he outboxed Pacquiao. I thought he landed the harder shots. I thought that he was attacking that body with left and right hooks. I thought that he scored better, and I gave him a majority of the rounds over Pacquiao. Did you see it that way as well?
I didn't. I agree with everything that you said, but chances are you had a better view on TV, frankly, than I did at ringside. They often say that on TV that one can't really discern what's going on because all the action is flattened out. But the truth of the matter is, with TV, you actually probably have a better view. You can see really what's going on. Plus, you can see what's going on between rounds. You can see the expression on Pacquiao's face. You can see what's happening in Pacquiao's corner. You really get a more intimate view of the fight. So I think that I agree with everything that you said. But again, from my vantage point, I had Pacquiao squeaking out a draw in the last 3 rounds.
Saying Pacquiao squeaking out a draw, it seems like a victory for him.
Well, I don't know. I mean, is a draw a victory? I'm
saying in this situation, I mean, the way that you just put it, it seems like, he squeaked out a victory, or he squeaked out a draw. So it seems like in this situation, obviously it's better than losing, and I thought he got outclassed, so I guess a draw is a victory.
Well, in a matter of speaking, but again, that's only my opinion. I mean, the only opinion ultimately that matters is the opinion of the judges, because that's what goes in the record books. And I think that is an inequity.
Do you think Floyd Mayweather was watching this fight?
Apparently he was not. That's what I heard. I don't know what he was doing, but he had apparently found something better to do. At least that's what he said.
On Twitter? Is that where he said it?
I think I read it on Twitter. I admit that I'm not a follower of any single person on Twitter, but I do follow all the boxing commentary, and presumably he didn't watch the fight.
Well, I understand that their camp has always said that they have never watched tape, so I guess I can understand. I also think that there's no way that he did not watch that fight. But let's say hypothetically he did. He's watching that fight and he's seeing, geez, Marquez is he's giving it to him. He's giving him a good fight. He is getting him Pacquiao uncomfortable in the ring. Do you think that if he saw that, because he beat up on Marquez, the time could be now?
Well, I think that based on Pacquiao's performance Saturday night, he doesn't have much of a chance against Mayweather. I think Mayweather's got the wrong style for Pacquiao. Again, I think Pacquiao's a fighter on the slide. I hate to say it, but I really do have that impression. I don't know what's going on, whether it's in his camp or his personal life or his private life or his financial life, but there's something happening. But I think Pacquiao's on the downside now. Why do
you think that? Because we've talked about this before. That one mediocre fight by a guy and we think he's on the down. Could it be just that styles make fights, as the longtime boxing quote always said? And Pacquiao and Marquez, that fight is always tough for Pacquiao.
Well, it is always tight for Pacquiao, but what can Marquez do that Mayweather can't do? That's the question. It wasn't as though Marquez stood there and traded with Pacquiao. He figured out the fight. He had a fight. He stuck to his game plan. Pacquiao didn't seem to have a game plan. There seemed to be no plan B when plan A ceased to work. And you can be sure that Mayweather's going to have a game plan if and when they ever fight. Whereas Team Pacquiao really has to take a look at what it is they're doing and why it's not working as well as it might.
What were you telling me prior? We were talking prior to our interview. Did you say something about Bob Arum not wanting Pacquiao to fight Mayweather?
Well, if Golden Boy is to be believed and Leonard Ellerby of Mayweather Promotions is to be believed, they both say that Arum has either told them or ignored their request for a sit-down to discuss the fight a potential fight between Mayweather and Pacquiao, because right now he's focusing, presumably, on a fourth fight between Marquez and Pacquiao.
That was Leonard Ellerby saying that?
Both Leonard Ellerby and Richard Schaefer from CEO of Golden Boy.
That's interesting.
Of course, go ahead.
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, and of course, there's all this sort of name calling going on, and all this sort of finger pointing going on, and it's really hard to know what's going on exactly. I mean, boxing is really the circus maximus, and you never know if anything that anybody ever says is true, and one has to sort of take everything that one hears with a grain of salt, because it is boxing. It's not corporate. It's boxing. Certainly.
Have you heard anything about Floyd Mayweather possibly fighting Eric Morales?
I have, and I have held my nose and looked away. I think it's a terrible idea. I can't think of a worse person for him to fight. We've seen enough of that with Mayweather already. I mean, haven't we just seen him take apart Ortiz? I mean, do we really need him to fight a great old fighter like Morales? I mean, is that what boxing needs? I mean, surely not. Surely that's not what boxing needs.
No, not at all. I mean, I always watch Mayweather when he fights. I always have. I don't think I could push myself to watch this one if he were to fight him. I don't want to get too far off topic here, but obviously with Manny Pacquiao, you're going to hear about Floyd Mayweather. And when you talk about Floyd Mayweather, you're always going to hear about Manny Pacquiao. Getting back to Marquez and Pacquiao 3, could boxing afford to have Manny Pacquiao lose this fight?
Probably not. I mean, I think boxing was really focused on the mega, super duper fight between Pacquiao and Floyd, which, of course, now 2 days after after the big fight with Marquez, now that fight has been basically deep sixed. Again, if that's what is being said is to be believed. But Pacquiao has become the face of boxing, like Mayweather has become the face of boxing. They're sort of like the faces of comedy and tragedy, or yin and yang. And Pacquiao, for better or worse, he is the face of boxing, or one of the two faces of boxing. So it would have cost boxing and cost Las Vegas a huge amount of money if Manny had gone down.
Now, you were ringside, as I said before, at the MGM Grand for this fight. How I saw it in the 12th round, Juan Manuel Marquez took his foot off the gas pedal. He did not box. He took the round off. And his trainer, Nacho Beristain, even said that he was winning the fight. I want to get your take on both of these. First, what do you think about Nacho telling him in the corner that he's winning the fight?
Well, always a big mistake. I mean, you just can never take anything for granted in boxing. And Beristain has been around forever. I mean, he, of all people, should know that. There was no reason for him to slow down, no reason for him to take his foot off the gas. It's boxing. It's Las Vegas. No more needs to be said. You fight until the final bell, and then you continue fighting until the referee stops you. I mean, that's boxing.
I agree. Now, do you think Juan Manuel Marquez stopped boxing in the 12th round and played it safe?
Well, to some extent. Pacquiao was sort of a desperate fighter at that point. I think he had a sense that he was not winning the fight. And I think his reaction after the final bell had sounded compared to Marquez's reaction would indicate that Pacquiao wasn't sure that he had won the fight, whereas Marquez was extremely confident. I mean, he fought better than he'd fought in the first two fights and suffered no knockdowns. So how does Pacquiao walk away with the victory? I mean, it's not clear.
Did you attend the post-fight press conference? I assume you did.
I did, yes.
Did you get any feeling that Pacquiao thought that he won the fight when he was in that conference?
Well, his remarks were very sort of short, succinct, and unconvincing. He arrived late. He left early. He had one or two sentences to say, and he was gone. So no, he wasn't convincing in the least. Unlike in fights past, where he would praise his opponent and talk about how he had won the fight for the people of the Philippines, etc. I mean, he really sort of had lost his focus in the post-fight press conference, just as he lost his focus in the fight itself.
Do you blame Marquez for leaving the ring after the fight?
No, he was disgusted. I mean, who can blame him for anything? He fought an incredible fight. Really sort of dominated Pacquiao. I mean, he asked, what do I have to do to convince the judges? I mean, and that, of course, is the final question about this fight. I mean, what does he have to do? Does Pacquiao have to be carried out on his shield before Marquez gets a victory? I mean, reasonable questions to ask, and his disgust was apparent and frankly, justifiable.
Does he have to knock down, or even in the most ridiculous circumstances, knock him out to win?
Well, it certainly looks like it. It certainly looks like he's never going to get a decision. And if there's any doubt about that prior to Saturday night, I think there should be no doubt about it now.
Is there any reason for them to fight again?
Oh, I don't know. I suspect there's a reason for them to fight again. They put on a great fight. They're both terrific athletes. I mean, both Hall of Famers, both just fabulous technicians. I'd love to see them fight again, only because it would be a great fight. Who wins and who loses, I'm increasingly losing interest in that. But if I see a great fight, I see a great fight, and that's what satisfies me the most.
Do you think it'll happen, though?
I think it's very likely. I don't know who else is out there.
Here's the better question. Not to interrupt you, but would Marquez do it again is the better question.
I imagine so. I mean, Marquez's stock has risen dramatically since Saturday night. He's probably never been more in demand than he is now, because everybody, especially the fans, I mean, who saw this fight, all felt as though Marquez won. And even though he didn't get the verdict in the end, he won in the court of public opinion. And so, again, his stock has never been higher. So I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's going to sort of go home, lick his wounds, reconsider, and if given another chance, he'll fight Pacquiao a fourth time.
Marquez, 38 years old, Pacquiao, 32. It's hard to believe the age difference because one of them looked much younger than the other and looked better than the other. Robert Exel, the editor-in-chief of Boxing.com, thank you very much for the time. Where can they find you online?
Boxing.com, easy to find. www.boxing.com, best URL in the biz.
Thanks, Robert.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Hey, this is Ben Mankiewicz along with my pal Rookie Mankiewicz, and Rookie has an important message for you. Lick your balls and subscribe to TYT Sports.